it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualized, my asexual life. This is the place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit that great big subscribe button down below, right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live now or post a new video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you're finding the content useful, helpful, or insightful in any way, shape, or form. If you don't know who I am Sandra Bellamy, author of this beautiful book, Asexual Perspectives, 47 asexual stories, real life stories, love, life, and sex, a celebration of asexual diversity. I'm also the founder of Asexualized Academy and the founder of asexualise.com. So in tonight's episode, I want to talk to you about tips for dealing with anxiety. So there's been a lot going on in my life lately. My hair looks like it's a bit weird. It's got a strange parting in it tonight. So basically, I've had lots of stuff going on in my personal life recently, over the last month, this month. And so, there's been a lot going on, and recent events have made my anxiety a lot higher than they have been for a while. And so I thought I'd share some tips about what's helped me specifically today to help get through the day. So I have to say that anxiety seems to be quite a common trait amongst asexuals. And I don't know if this is because we living in a highly sexualized world is very difficult sometimes when we're not that way inclined to kind of be able to cope in the great big sexualized world sometimes, and that everything life throws at you. But I also know that I think a lot of us have probably had some sort of childhood trauma one way or the other. I think some of us have probably had things in our past, not just because we're asexual, but I think a lot of people have had stuff in their past. I think that being asexual though, you are kind of an outsider quite a lot of the time growing up, because you don't view the world in the same way that everyone else does, which is the sexual way. And I think that can make you kind of like disassociate from society to a certain extent, because obviously, you just can't relate so much to that type of thing. And so I think that, the disconnecting from society can leave you feeling a bit lost, bewildered, anxious about the present and the future. And obviously some of us can have had some whatever trauma it was, in our past. So that can be quite difficult to deal with. And then obviously life throws you lots of curveballs, doesn't it? Just things just land on your lap and you didn't expect them to. So in my case, I was made redundant from my job of 5 years in 2017. So we're in 2019 now. And I have to support myself because I've got my own beautiful flat I rent. And, basically I sell a few copies of my book. I sell copies of my book every month, but it's not like a huge amount in comparison to like my web domain costs, my web hosting costs. So I've just had to renew my web hosting, which is like £175 for 2 years. Like that's quite a lot of money. Do you know what I mean? And so, because obviously Amazon take quite a big cut of my book because they are the ones who print it for me. So, and I sell a few t-shirts, which I'm really glad I sell t-shirts for asexuals. I've sold a couple lately, but the profit margins aren't very high on them. And then I sell my book, and I don't really, I'm still looking for an actual job to replace my full-time income that I had before. And so, over in the UK, there's certain things you have to do when you're redundant. And there's a lot of conflict going on between like looking for another job and what I do for asexuals and writing and with my t-shirts and stuff. So it's kind of like difficult for me at the moment, and I'm kind of getting really stressed because like the government, I've got certain things in the UK that you have to kind of like guidelines or restrictions. And so it's quite difficult at the moment. There's quite a lot of stress and pressure on me. And so that's really induced my anxiety again, when I haven't really felt this anxious in a long time. But I'm waking up like yesterday, I spent quite a lot of time sleeping, which is not like me. I've usually got loads of energy, but anxiety does sap your energy. And it can make you have things like panic attacks or feel like you can't breathe properly. And so it can be very, very difficult to get on with your day. The tips I would say is, like today I've just been listening to positive affirmations on YouTube like throughout the day for hours. So while I'm trying to do stuff on the internet, you know, to distract my mind. You know, I'm taking time to do out, you know, do various projects I'm working on and stuff. You know, I'm just taking time out to distract my mind from the stress that certain situations are causing me at the moment. And so one of the things I would definitely say with anxiety is to distract your mind. Another thing is, which is really difficult, but try not to overthink. Like, I was watching a YouTube video today and it said try not to overthink, because a lot of people's anxiety is brought on by overthinking. Like, don't think it's any worse than it is. Don't think it's any less than it is. Just think it is what it is. And I think that's so important. That did help me calm down a bit today. You know, don't think of it worse than it is. You know, think of it, it is what it is. And so that's kind of really helpful. So distracting the mind, thinking it's not worse than it is what it is a good couple of tips for helping to ease anxiety. Also, talking to friends and family can help, but not if they're going to make your anxiety worse, obviously. But if you find them supportive or listening here or helpful, then that's really good as well, to talk about things, especially if you've got a friend or family member that does understand anxiety, because they are more likely to be sympathetic or empathetic to you. Whereas if you talk to someone who's never experienced anxiety in their life, they might think you're being silly or overreacting or just not got any sympathy for you. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, anxiety is a serious mental health condition. It's a serious health condition, full stop. I mean, the body tends to shut down. Like, if I get really anxious, my body tends to go really shut down, but it goes in knots. My stomach goes in knots. I keep needing the toilet all the time. I feel like I can't breathe properly. And so it can be quite limiting when you're in a state of anxiety. So obviously you have to change your state. Is the biggest thing you need to do with anxiety, is literally change your state of being so that you're not so anxious. Like I said, with distraction, without overthinking, if you can help it. You know, plow your energies into other projects to take your mind off the things that are making you really anxious. Obviously, facing your fears head on is another thing you've got to do as well at the same time. So you don't want to kind of avoid the anxiety thing, you know, that's causing anxiety. You don't want to avoid it all the time, because it's not going to solve the problem. So you have to, like, kind of take the bull by the horn, as it were, and try and solve the problem, you know. Thanks for the thumbs up. And it's really difficult, you know, that it's really difficult when you're in a state of anxiety, because your body can literally shut down, and so it takes a lot of energy out of you. So I'd say you've got to change your state is the most important thing. Like, I've been listening to, like I said, positive affirmations throughout the day, like, seriously, hour after hour after hour. You know, I've been doing these positive affirmations, and I've just been listening in the background as well as working on, like, you know, projects and things, you know, just keeping myself busy. And I think it's really good to keep yourself busy and distract your mind, but it's also good to face the problem head on as well. And so it's a combination of doing both. You know, you can't ignore the problem. It's not going to go away, but you have to face it, but not overthink it. And I think that's a really difficult balance to get. Also, take time out for you to do something that makes you feel good. Like, do a bit of dancing around your room if you like it. I put on some dance music earlier. Dance music is always good because it changes your state. So if you're miserable but you put on music that makes you feel really energized, it's hard to stay in the lethargic state as much, because you're automatically energizing yourself more. However, I know that when you've got anxiety, it can really drain you and make you feel tighter. So, you know, then you need to get more rest, and you might have to rest more. That might mean that you cut down going out to see friends as much for the time where you need your energy. But seeing friends is very important as well, to get your mind out of the situation of anxiety. Because the thing is, they think you're anxious, the more the anxiety will perpetuate. So it's good to tell friends and talk about it in family, but then you need to, like, let it go for a while and do other things, because if you're constantly saying I'm anxious all the time, I'm really anxious, and it just makes it worse, escalates the problem, puts your body in a state of more anxiety sometimes. So obviously, you know, distract your mind a bit, go and have some mind rests, watch a movie, chill out, or do something to distract your mind. Read a book. You know, like last night I was anxious, but I was reading a business book, so I couldn't, like, really get on with doing anything on my computer last night. I was really, like, spent a lot of time sleeping yesterday, but then I later on woke up and I read some of a business book. So I was still doing kind of like thinking about business stuff, but I was just reading, and it helps, reading a few chapters of a book. So you're still kind of keeping in the mindset of your future, but you're kind of like living for now at the same time. So I think it's good, like if you have got lack of energy, to plow your energy into things you really need to get done, like the essential things. Like if you've got clothes to wash, I did some clothes washing today, and I think it's really good to make sure you're looking after yourself. Like make sure you do get dressed, make sure you do shower, make sure you do your washing and stuff like that. So you need to make sure you're looking after yourself. And if you haven't got so much energy, maybe you can't go out with your friends as much. Maybe it's too much energy to go out and do things. Although I do think you should push yourself to go out a bit as well and spend time with other people and not be in the house or flat all the time, because that can make your mind very confined. Do you know what I mean? So you kind of need to get out and about as well, not just confine yourself to your flat or your home, because that'll just make things worse. Have your favorite foods to hand. I find that when I'm in an anxious state, I eat even more than I usually do. I'm always hungry. And the reason for that is because when you're in an anxious state, your body goes into fight or flight mode. It's a natural response. And when you're in fight or flight mode, there's lots of chemicals that are releasing, and they need the extra, like the energy has to go to the heart to pump it faster, because my heart's beating faster, my body's been more shaky, and my hands have been more shaky this morning. So what happens is all your blood rushes to your heart, and it needs more oxygen to keep pumping. That's why you kind of feel like short of breath sometimes when you're having anxiety. And that's why you feel like you need to eat more as well, because you need more energy. So you automatically want to eat more food to give you more energy, so you can pump the heart with more oxygen, so you can basically save yourself, because you're in danger. And it being in a state of anxiety, your body just literally goes into danger overdrive. It's like someone's coming to get me type thing. And and it's very, very difficult when you're in that state of overdrive to crack out of it. So literally you've just got to change your state, do whatever you can to distract your mind. If you need to watch a movie, but don't watch something that's going to frighten you, like horror and stuff, because that's going to be no good for your mind. If you're anxious and then you see a horror of people trying to stab other people, it's just going to make you worse. Try and watch something like a comedy or a dance show, or something that's like I said, something that's really funny. Or watch a cartoon, something really simple and light-hearted, something that's not going to make your mind freak out even more, because that's the last thing you want, is your mind to freak out more when you're actually anxious as it is. So pay attention to what you read as well. The last thing you want to be doing is reading the news, because if you start reading the newspapers and it's full of death, rape and murder, that's just going to put you in a worse anxiety state. So I don't read the news. I'm purposely keeping away from the news as much as possible. I'm purposely not trying to think negatively. I'm trying to think positively. And you have to just think that this state of anxiety is temporary. There will be a resolution one way or the other. It might not be what you want, or it might be what you want, but until it's resolved, there's not a lot you can do about it. Just keep fighting your corner and keep being you, and keep going forward in your life. I think this is the worst thing, is when your anxiety is actually based around decisions of other people. And usually I'd say all your anxiety is to do with yourself. And to all intents and purposes, we do create our own destiny. We do create our environment. So yeah, I could choose now not to be anxious, but with anxiety is not like that. Anxiety kind of takes hold of your body, and I think it can become involuntary. So where we all need to be in charge of our own emotions and not let anything affect us. Of course, if your financial circumstances are kind of being held hostage by government stuff, and if you're in a situation in which you don't want to be in, then it's kind of obviously outside influences that are going to affect it a bit. So it's really important that you try and stay as strong as possible, and that you realize that this time will come to pass. Something will happen, an opportunity will come along. You just got to remain positive as much as possible in your mind. Just keep being positive, keep thinking something's going to happen, something's going to come up, an opportunity will be great, everything's going to be all right. And when things go down, things have to come up. It's a law of averages. So if something's stressing you out at the moment and making you feel anxious and nervous, it means that something better is around the corner. Maybe it's not straight away, maybe it's a few months down the line, but it is going to happen. And you know, it is difficult, you know, because I haven't experienced this level of anxiety for quite some time, you know, not consistently. And you know, I've got to try and not let something affect me, but at the moment I'm keeping getting a letter every like week of stuff I need to deal with, which is like, you know, stuff that I can't avoid. And so that's quite a pressure, you know, and to get all the information that these people want, it takes about 3 or 4 days. So it's just constant stress for like they usually send a letter on the Friday, so it's constant stress all weekend. And then, you know, it's just like backwards and forwards with the information they want. And I'm finding it a bit like stressful and overwhelming, to be honest with you. And it's kind of like I just want to be left alone to chill. Do you know what I mean? But you can't be left alone by those people. But the only thing is, you have to realize that, you know, I could choose like to just think, oh well, doesn't matter. And you know, but it's easier said than done when you've got anxiety, isn't it? Like there might be a part of me that knows, like, well, it is what it is, you know, it's not more than it is and not less than it is. What will be will be. Everything happens for a reason. I can do all that. But when you've had anxiety for a lot of years, and when you're used to, you know, your body kicks in, it kind of becomes an involuntary response. And even if you want to not be anxious, your body kicks in to protect you and it goes into fight or flight mode. Like I've had lots of experiences in my life where my body automatically in certain circumstances just goes into like overdrive. You know, if you imagine a car and it's in like first gear or whatever, it just goes, or in like, you know, like in drive mode, it just goes shh. And it's very difficult to get myself out of it. The way to get out of it is literally listening to positive affirmations, soothing music, distracting my mind through projects, reading books, listening to music, you know, and trying to like just remain as calm as possible and trying to soothe my soul, you know. And I find that the energy zapping is the worst thing because I have a load of energy, you know I do. And like to actually be more sleepy all the time, like it's not good for me. I actually start to feel physically ill. Like my throat was really sore last night. I had to get up in the night and do throat spray. So it means that because what we think about affects our whole body. So that if we become anxious, it can make us ill in the rest of our bodies as well, when we wouldn't usually be, because it's the anxiety that's doing it to us. You know, if we remove the anxiety, then everything would be fine again. But that's the trouble when anxiety strikes and hits like a double-edged sword, if you know what I mean, right through the whatever, then it can be really debilitating. And I just thought I'd put this video together because I want you guys to know that if you are asexual that has anxiety, then I do understand where you're coming from. You know, a lot of people who come to my meetups, they have anxiety of some sort, you know, and we all understand each other really well, you know, and we all get on really well, which is great. And hi, it's not nice. Hi, Heather, nice to see you. Yeah. So at the moment, there's a lot of stuff going on in my life, which is making me really, really anxious, which is making me have a lack of energy, which is not like me. So it's really not good. I'm trying to cope with it as best I can, but something's been going on for like 3 weeks now, and there's not a lot I can do about it other than continue giving information to people that need it and then fighting my corner. You know, it's very stressful. And you know, I don't like, years and years ago I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder level 4, that's GAD level 4, but that was years ago, and I've done a lot of personal development stuff to overcome that. You know, like I was a speaker at the conference last year, which is amazing. You know, I'm good at talking in groups. I organise asexual meetups now, so I don't have a problem being like that, organising group meetups, whereas years ago I could only talk one-on-one to a person. And you know, and I'm a lot more outgoing than I used to be years ago, confident and all that lot. But obviously there are certain things like this particular thing which just, it's like, it's very difficult to deal with because it's like constantly I feel a bit trapped by it, to be honest. So it's kind of like very difficult for me, and I feel like I can only do a limited amount of things in the day at the moment because my energy is just that, like, before I came on this live stream I was starting to feel dizzy. Like I was in the kitchen getting some more food, but I'm starting to feel dizzy, and that's like a symptom of anxiety. You know, you can start to feel dizzy. Like this morning my hands were feeling shaky, my body was feeling shaky, it's hard to get air into my lungs even though the window's open. So it can be kind of really difficult, and I just wanted to reach out to people saying you're not alone, you know, even though I do this channel, even though I'm very confident in lots of ways, even though, You know, I love my life still implicitly. I wouldn't change it for someone else's life. I wouldn't wish that I wasn't asexual. I wouldn't wish to have a different life in the sense that this is my life that I'm leading, and I'm happy with my life. I'm very blessed and fortunate over a lot of things, you know. It's still hard, you know. It's still hard, and you have to remember what you're thankful for. It's really good when you're in a state of anxiety to remember what you're thankful for. Like although the problems there with the anxiety, you got to think of all the other things. Like I've got this beautiful home that I'm in. You know, I've got this beautiful frozen bedding. I've got my Mickey Mouse. I've got my nice, like the curtains are nice funky curtains. You know, like I've got food in my fridge. I went out shopping yesterday. I've got money in my purse. I've got money in my bank. I've got like you know, friends that care about me, including you, Heather, which is lovely. You know, but I mean, I run 5 asexual groups, but I haven't been in them much lately because I've got a lot of personal stuff going on, you know. A lot of the people in the groups kind of like talk amongst themselves, and it runs itself a lot of the time. But you know, like I should be in there a bit more, but like you know, like I've been behind with stuff like that because I have to take care of myself as well, you know. When there's a lot of stuff going on in my private life, personal stuff, which has got to do with like kind of got to do with business as well, because if you didn't, you know, hey, you're welcome. Because you know, it's to do with the fact that I do asexual t-shirts and have some books out that's causing a bit of the issue, because I lost my job in 2017, and it's kind of I'm unemployed and self-employed at the same time, and those two things are really conflicting. But I don't want to give up being self-employed because I don't want to give up like people being able to buy my book and stuff, do you know what I mean, and my t-shirts. And because of that little bit of income I'm earning, it's causing a lot of problems with the government in the UK at the moment. You know, they're like constantly like wanting to scrutinize everything I do. So it's very, very difficult, you know, for me at the moment. It's very, very difficult, especially when I'm a genuine person who's just trying to make a difference in the world. It's kind of like really hard. And you know, they want to know what I'd been doing last year where I had to go away, and that was for the conference, you know. It's all above board, asexuality conference that I was speaking at. So it's kind of like really difficult when you have to deal with people and you know, like big organizations like that, and you're just a small little person, and you have to try and cope with it as best you can. But I mean, you know, it just gets to the stage where it feels very like hammering and very like this all the time. And it's just, I just want to chill, you know. I just want to relax a bit, you know, like have some days of relaxation, not having to worry about this stuff all the time. This is the 3rd week now, they've sent me a letter, and like this weekend I've got to spend all weekend gathering all the information they want, so I don't get a weekend. All I get is to write down this letter and get some more figures for them, and it just drives you up the wall, you know. And so it's constant like, you know, it's constant like on your mind all the time. But all you can do is, like I said, the techniques that I've told you is, you know, like talk to family and friends that are supportive, not ones that are unhelpful. Distract your mind, but don't forget to tackle the problem head on as well, because you can't avoid it forever, and in avoiding it's not going to solve the problem. You have to deal with it head on as well. But you know, like go and watch some comedy, cartoons, and positive affirmations. I really recommend positive affirmations. If you go on YouTube and type in "I am affirmations," specifically the words "I am affirmations," you can get tons of them. And you can set a YouTube video for an hour on "I am affirmations." You can do something else and have that in the background. It's got really soothing music, so that's what I've been doing for a long time today. So that if I'm doing something else, I've got that in the background. And when I stop doing that for a while, then my anxiety starts to shoot back up again. So you know, the fact that my affirmations are off at the moment, because obviously I'm doing this video and they're off a little while ago, you know, my anxiety is starting to go up again. So then tomorrow I'll be having to play it like loads and stuff, you know, just to keep calm. It's important that you keep as calm as possible, because otherwise your breath can get like your breathing can get out, you know, irregular, your heartbeat can get faster, and all sorts of stuff. So you know, it's best to just take time out. Like it's hard for me obviously doing this channel like tonight show, because you know, I'm feeling quite anxious about the stuff I've got to do all weekend. I'm feeling like more sleepy, less energetic than I usually am. And so it's kind of like I'm more zapped of energy, and I don't like being like this because it's not really who I am. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm energetic, girl. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be like feeling like this. It's not healthy for me. And I think one of the worst things is if you are put in a situation where it's kind of inducing your anxiety, and all you can do is keep your state of being in a least anxious state as possible, because it's kind of like not, like it's beyond your control. I think that kind of makes it worse in the sense that it feels a bit out of control. But obviously, you can, we are responsible for our own body state. We're responsible for our own state of mind. We're responsible for our own body. But with anxiety, it does tend to take over. Like, it tends to be an involuntary action. So although you can say, all you like that, like, for example, I feel a bit critical of myself at the moment. I'm thinking, Sandra, you're in charge of your body. You're in charge of your mind. Just don't be anxious. But when you tell a person who's actually has anxiety, that it's the worst thing you can say to them, because it just makes them worse usually. So I have to try and not be too critical of myself, and I think that's a really good tip, not to criticize yourself too much, because you can just go, well, why am I, don't feel anxious, it's ridiculous, stop it, because I feel like I'm making myself more ill by being anxious. But it's kind of becomes involuntary, like my body just literally decides to shut itself down, and decides to go in knots and decides to do weird stuff. And it is literally because of the anxiety that's been induced by these other things going on. And so it's really, really difficult. I mean, in general, I can get away from stuff because I can live here. I do my own thing in life. I can walk away from people. But this is kind of like a legal thing where I can't walk away from it. I have to comply. And so, like, it's always more difficult in circumstances like that. And I think, it does take time. And, I don't know how long this is going to go on for, backwards and forwards with all this stress, but it's time it's taking its toll a bit on my body now. Like, I was okay, like I wasn't great last week or the week before, but this week now is just making it worse, because I can feel more dizzy. I feel my energy levels depleting. I'm getting like a sore throat and stuff, like I said. So it is taking its toll. And I wish I could just like snap my fingers and everything will be all right again. But at the moment, I feel like it's a bit more out of my hands. I think when your brain is in a state of anxiety, your body is as well. It doesn't kind of think straight. And so, like, I would love to just be of the mind that it doesn't matter. What will be, doesn't matter. And sometimes I'm like that, sometimes I'm thinking, whatever, doesn't matter. No catastrophes happening at the moment, is it? Nothing in life is really catastrophe right now in this moment. It's fine to live for now. But although I say that, I can feel that my breath is more shorter. I feel like there's not as much air in my lungs when I'm talking. I'm feeling dizzier, and I'm feeling like not so well in myself. So even though I'm talking and I know that's what I should be doing, like not worrying, thinking, well, nothing, it's still, everything's still the same at the moment. It's just information they're gathering over, like, this is the third week. And so, there's no difference at this precise moment in time. So there's nothing to worry about in that sense. But there is a hell of a lot to worry about when I'm being threatened quite a lot in legal terms. If I don't do this and comply, and if I don't do that, comply. And so it's kind of like really difficult for me. It's kind of really hard. So, that's where I'm at the moment. So, if there is ever a night when I can't do this channel for some reason, like because my mind's just blown, like tomorrow I might have to have like a, night off or something, or I might have, but I don't want to start having nights off because I like doing this channel. I think it's healthy for me to do it as well and tell you guys what's going on. I think it's healthy for me to actually speak to you about anxiety, because it's something that's not that well mentioned, is it? Like, anxiety is quite a mental health issue. And it's like a lot of people don't really speak out about it. And it's really the chemicals in your brain that releases stress hormones in the body, which isn't nice. Yeah. It's cortisone levels. Prolonged exposure to cortisone levels is really dangerous to the body as well. Like, I've got fibromyalgia, and I know that the reason I got fibromyalgia personally is because of past trauma. And the reason I believe I have fibromyalgia to do with the trauma is that I was in fight or flight mode for years, particularly with my ex, which is the final nail in the coffin, as it were. And so because my body was in fight or flight, not knowing where he's going to like physically threaten me again or punch something, then over that prolonged time of years, I was with him for 8.5 years, that high levels of cortisone damages the body. And what happens with fibromyalgia is the pain stays there. Like, I've got injuries from old accidents, right, that come back. The pain comes back as though I've just been hurt again, even though it was years ago. And that's how fibromyalgia works. And a lot of people don't know what causes it, but I know it's caused by trauma, and I believe it's by the high cortisone levels in the body, due to I think it's cortisone, due to the body, the body's in constant state of fight or flight. And so now my body's gone back into that state at the moment. It's not good for me. Literally, my head is starting to get really dizzy and stuff, I'm starting to get iller again. I can feel it. My hands last night, we start to get rashes as well. So I had to put cream on them. And when I get rashes, it's either an allergy to something I've had, or it's a virus in me that's usually seeping out of my pores. It's like, it's to do with stress, no doubt, And so, so the chemicals that induce I have with the anxiety that come with it are very bad for the body, because being in a prolonged state like that over a period of days, you do need more energy in your body. You do need more energy, air in your lungs, as it were. And sometimes a good thing is, if you've got a paper bag, to blow in the paper bag to get the oxygen circling back into your mouth again, which helps, get more to the brain so you don't feel as dizzy. So it can be really hard. So at the moment, like, I'm not actively participating in the asexual groups as much as I used to at the moment. I'm offline on my personal Facebook profile. I haven't made an appearance so much there at the moment because I just need time out. I can't be, I've been speaking to a friend on Facebook today, which has been really nice, supportive, but I kind of like need time out for me at the moment. So if there's any shows I can't do lately of these, like, it's probably because I'm sleeping or freaked out or something. But I try and do them as much as possible. It's just my mind isn't so focused as it usually is. Like, usually I can think of like 10 topics at once I'm writing down, or 5 topics. Like, at the moment, all I'm just thinking is about I'm anxious and what I do about that. So I thought it's important to share some of the tips that has been helping me today. But overall, it's it's still not like I want it to be. It's going back to the state which I never wanted to be in. I don't like being in an anxious state, especially when I know it's not healthy for me. I'm getting iller. I can feel my body. I mean, even now I feel dizzy. My head feels like, ugh, so I'm gonna lie down in a minute. Anyway, I think I'm gonna stop for tonight. So I hope you found some of these tips useful, helpful, insightful in any way. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. I know there's already a thumbs up on there, but I appreciate any more. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to this channel down below. Please hit the bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live right now or post a new video. Don't forget, if you do have anxiety problems, if you want to share them in the comments below, if you want to share any tips that's helped you, to kind of like calm your anxiety down a bit or counteract it, what you found useful, helpful, please pop them down below. We can help each other out in this community. Really appreciate that. And thanks, Heather, for watching. I love you to bits. Good night to you. Good night to everyone else. And I'll see you on the next video or live stream. Take care. Bye. Bye.